lighting is really annoying in the winter, because it goes from, like, no lighting ever to there's constantly snow on the ground, and it's reflecting all the light, and you have lighting forever, and now you're super washed out. So, sorry, I look really pale. I mean, I am pale because it's winter, but also the lighting is not helping. Hi. So, this year I read a lot of books. More than last year, enough that I tried to include it in my favorites video for the year. That video was already like 24 minutes long, but if I added the book stuff, it probably would have been like twice as long. And I didn't even talk about all the books I read, I just talked about my favorite ones. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just talk about the books I read in a separate video. But there are a lot, and there are a lot of things that I want to say, so let's go! I know for a lot of people this isn't a lot of books, but it is for me, and I'm proud, so yay. So the first book I read this year was Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I read it for Lindsay and Margot's super amazing book club. I always get it wrong. I mostly, like, joined their book club because I wanted to read this book, and I was like, I may as well just join a book club since I want to read this book. And I think that A, I stopped being motivated and stopped reading books, and B, they stopped doing the book club thing, so I guess it worked out kind of mutually because I wasn't, like, upset about it, and I don't think they were like, Becca, you stopped reading books! But the point is, it motivated me to read this book, which I really wanted to read anyway, but it was just like a sign that it's like, yes, you should read this book. And I'm glad, because I really liked it. I read it while I was on vacation in Florida, and I think it was the only book I brought, and I was, like, kind of upset with myself because I wanted to finish it. But when you bring a book on vacation, you want to make it, like, last the whole time. But yeah, it's been a while, so I don't really remember, like, what is a spoiler and what is, like, something that you find out within, like, the first 50 pages. So I can't give too much information because I don't want to, like, accidentally give anything away. But basically the gist of it is, it's a post-apocalyptic novel, but, like, in a disease way. It's not like the government caused a dystopia or, you know, technology made the world end. It's actually a very different post-apocalyptic novel, in my opinion. But yeah, it kind of tells the stories of, like, what happens before and after the apocalypse from the perspectives of all these really different people, rich and poor, young and old, and eventually they all, like, sort of start to connect. I really like stories like that, where it's kind of like you're solving a mystery as the reader. It's not really a mystery, but you're trying to figure out how they connect, you know what I mean? I love stuff like that, so I really liked this book a lot. So after that, I continued reading the Percy Jackson series. I read the second book, which is Sea of Monsters. I have never read Percy Jackson before, so even though I'm like 23, I was like, I'm gonna do it. Again, it was so long ago that I don't really remember a ton about it. But I did like it. I think I liked Lightning Thief more, but I mean, I still liked this. Spoiler alert, if you're weird like me and still haven't read Percy Jackson, I don't like that the bulk of it is, like, just Percy and Annabeth. I really like Grover, so, like, the fact that he wasn't there very much was kind of a bummer. But there were some really cool parts. They referenced, like, one of my favorite Greek mythology little story fable things, so that was nice. But yeah, overall, you know, another good book in the series, and I need to finish reading the series. Unfortunately, this was the only Percy Jackson book I read this year, but I do need to read more. After I read Percy Jackson, my life just got really busy, and I didn't prioritize reading very much. It was like the last 2 months before I graduated, so I had a lot going on. So between March and April, the only book that I really read was Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. And as you can see by my bookmark, I didn't get very far. I don't really know why this book isn't appealing to me. I heard the, like, summary, the blurb, and I always was like, wow, that book sounds like something I would enjoy. But for one thing, like, okay, I'm just gonna show you, like, the font is so tiny, look! I am a very slow reader, and it's unmotivating to me when the font is this small. You know, I feel like I'm not making any progress, and it makes me so sad. So, for one thing, I just, like, wasn't motivated to read it. That's really the only reason. I think the only reason is the font size. There's just... You see it and you're like, that's a small book, I can handle that in, like, you know, a couple weeks. But anyway, if you're a fast reader and that font size won't be a problem for you, I think it's good. I think The, like, overall premise of it is good. I like the writing style enough. In case you haven't heard of this or seen the trailers for the movie, it's basically about a kid living in the future where everything is done in, like, virtual reality. Like, he is very poor. He lives in the stacks, which are, like, these trailers that are just stacked on top of each other. But he goes to school in virtual reality. He plays with his friends in virtual reality. And basically, the man who created this whole virtual reality thing, when he died, he made this egg hunt. And whoever finds the grand prize wins a bunch of money. So it's appealing to me. I just need to sit down and actually read it and embrace the fact that it has tiny font. The next book that I read, I don't have on me and I don't know where it is because I let Amber borrow it and she gave it back to me. Like, we met up in Arkansas during Christmas break and exchanged Christmas presents, and she gave it back to me, like, with my Christmas present. And now I have no idea where it is. It probably either fell out of the bag that Eric and I put all our presents in, and it's, like, in our car somewhere, or I left it in Arkansas. I'll find it eventually. But anyway, the point is, it's Buffering by Hannah Hart. My brother got it for me for Christmas, and I lost it. This is one of the only YouTuber books that I've, like, gotten really excited about. I really want to read Dodie's, but that's because I really like Dodie. Hannah, it was more like, I just really like who she is as a person, so I thought that a memoir by her would be, like, really cool and, you know, maybe a little bit uplifting. I was surprised by, you know, like, all the stuff that she's been through. I don't want to give anything away, and it's not really my thing to say, you know, it's her stuff to say, and you can read it in her book if you want to. I mean, she went through some, like, crap as a kid, and I just really admire how she, like, overcame everything. I don't know, I think it's really cool. I also think it was really fun to read about, like, how she slowly gained success on YouTube. I think that's always, like, a fun thing to kind of read about. But yeah, overall, it just, like, confirmed that, like, ideologically, Hannah and I are very similar people. And it's nice to read a memoir by someone who just reinforces the things you already believe. Really, though, it's a good read. Hannah's a super strong, cool person, and yeah, I liked it a lot. The next book I read, my parents got me for graduation. It's Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. Sheryl Sandberg is, like, the chief operating officer at Facebook. So basically she's, like, a major person in the business world. And in this book she just talks about how women and men, but mostly women, can strive for equality in the workplace, lean in, and, like, go for opportunities that maybe you wouldn't think that you would have gone for. Stop telling yourself, you know, I'm not gonna get that job anyway, or it's not good for me. You know, just try, right? And yeah, I think it's a really good read. It definitely motivated me to try for things that I might not have tried for my first year as a teaching assistant. And now I'm making more money next semester, so haha, thank you, Cheryl. But yeah, this is a good one. If you're a woman or if you're a man who wants to kind of learn about the struggles that women face in the workplace, I think it's a really good read. And yeah, I think she presents things in a very, like, not us versus them way. It's more like, how can we as men and women work together to make the workplace and the house and the family a more equal place. And I think it's really cool. I liked it a lot. The next book I read after that was The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. This book is basically about, like, the background characters of a story. So, you know, you can see, like, all the cool, like, indie kids. I don't understand why they were called indie kids in the book, by the way. That was the one thing that I didn't get. But anyway, you can see all the cool indie kids. You know, they have, like, all their tropes going on. And then you have these, like, normal people, right? And these are forming characters, the normal people. And I just thought that was a really cool premise. And he really doesn't, like, go away from that premise. There's definitely this, like, mythical, magical kind of stuff going on. But our four main characters never really figure out why it's happening. They just know that it's happening and then they have to go on with their lives. But it's not, like, boring. It also talks about, you know, like, sexuality, relationships, mental health. The main character has OCD. I always want to, you know, read about perspectives that are different from my own, and broaden my worldview and be able to understand my friends a little bit better. But yeah, I like it a lot. I would definitely recommend it, and I want to read more Patrick Ness books. Also around this time, I was getting really, really into the Archie comics. I initially started reading Archie in the summer because I saw this Tumblr post about how Jughead was asexual, and I'm asexual, which I've never mentioned on YouTube before, I don't think. But the point is, I saw that and I was like, oh wow, I've never seen someone like me portrayed in the media, ever. So that was a pretty big deal for me. So I really wanted to read the originals. I also went and watched Riverdale in the hopes that my only celebrity crush ever, Cole Sprouse, was playing an ace boy. That was kind of a letdown. Good show. Good show. Very different from the originals. But anyway, before I even read Riverdale, I went all the way back to like the original first Pep comic that Archie appeared in and started trying to read up until the present day ones. One thing I really enjoy about reading the Archies is like seeing old like historical things, right? You know, like during the World War II era ones, there's like war bond, advertisements everywhere. Stuff is so cheap, it's crazy. It's like, I have a fancy date with Veronica tonight. I need $5 stat. And I'm like, okay, $5 can buy like me Taco Bell. The slang, you know, as a linguist, I just love seeing like all the old slang. The reason that I'm like stuck in the 70s right now is because I started reading the like newer ones, which I also like a lot. And again, kind of like Riverdale, they got away from the originals. But I gotta admit, I like it more than Riverdale. But obviously the main thing that I am like really, really into is the modern Jughead. The Chip Zdarsky ones, I think is how you pronounce his last name, because he's like canonically ace, and it gave me so many feelings. There are just so many moments that are like things that I experienced with romance and stuff that I have never seen in a book, in a movie, on TV, anywhere, you know? And seeing a character like talk about it, it made me feel some kind of way. I mean, I could literally make a whole video about Jughead, but I won't because I don't think most people care as much as I do. Obviously, overall, it's just a silly little comic about a boy who likes burgers a lot, but there are these occasional moments. I really, really got into the original Archies just because I enjoyed them. They're funny. Obviously, they're not always politically correct because they are old, but I think they're funny and fun and a cool way to kind of learn a little bit about history. And then I was really, really into the modern Jughead comics because of the ace representation, and I think as a spin-off, it's very good. The next thing I read was Horror Store. I've been trying to read this book for like 10 years. I got it from my town's library when I was at UCA, and I lost it, and I bought it from them. And then when I found it, I brought it back, and I was like, do you want this back? And they were like, nah, you already paid for it. I paid him $10. I technically saved money, so life hack, steal books from your library, pay the fee, and then just never return them. I kept putting this book off because I wanted to read it in October when it's like spoopy. So last October, I wasn't able to read it, obviously because I lost it. So this October, I finally was like, okay, no, we're reading Horror Store. I had never read a like horror story before, and I really enjoyed it. It takes place in an IKEA-like store, which is why the book itself looks like an IKEA magazine. Basically, some of the people that work there are doing like the night shift, and weird things start to happen. And you know, I don't know, it's different from like a stereotypical horror story. It's not the kind of place you would expect to be haunted, but it's really good. I didn't expect myself to get very invested in this, but there were actually a couple moments where I was like reading it, and then like there would be a noise in the apartment and I'd be like, ah! Which I didn't expect to happen, because it doesn't happen to me with like horror movies, but I really liked this. So if you want a sort of different type of horror story, I'd recommend this. The next book I read was Turtle All the Way Down. I love John Green. I think he's a great person. I like the way he and his brother, you know, see the world and stuff. And I like the way he writes. I pre-ordered it. I got the signed copy, so that's pretty cool. And it did not disappoint. It tells the story of Asa Holmes. She's a girl with OCD. John Green himself has OCD, so seeing OCD portrayed in a way that isn't like, Sheldon has to knock on the door 3 times, haha, it's so quirky. It's a more serious portrayal of OCD, and I really liked that. It's dark at times, you know, it's scary, and that's the way it really is, and I bet that really is the way it has been for John Green sometimes. So there's also this like Paper Towns kind of mystery going on, where like the richest man in town disappears, and like Asa and her friend Daisy are trying to piece the evidence together to figure out, like, is this man dead? Is he just incognito? Like, where is he? I like that there's, like, other stuff going on in her life, and it's like, stop, this is inconvenient for me, because that's the way it really is. Overall, really good portrayal of mental illness, in my opinion, as a neurotypical person, but I trust his judgment because he has OCD. If you know more about mental health stuff, let me know in the comments if you liked this book or not, because I liked it, but who knows, maybe I'm just a little lame neurotypical person thinking I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, pretty good books overall, and I hope that in 2018 I will also read a lot of books that I like so I can tell you guys about them. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Let me know what you guys read this year or what you're planning to read in 2018. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them. All that stuff, hit me up in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!